So hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today in this video we are going to be continuing our JavaScript for Beginner series. And in this video we're going to go ahead and look more into the DOM manipulation methods, and then we are also going to learn about event listeners. So in the previous video I've actually given you a project. I didn't give you, we actually did a project. In that project we actually toggled from light to dark theme. So now in this video I'm just going to go ahead and explain you all about those event listeners. There are more than 3 or 4 events listener that we need to learn in JavaScript besides click. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside of the file, and inside of the files I'll go into documents, in the tutorial JavaScript. Now this chapter 6 I need to go and move this to trash, and then this is the new folder, the chapter 6. Now I'll open this with Visual Studio Code over here. Okay, now I'll open this and then I'll close, and I'll go full screen over here. Now I'll create an index.html file. Now in this index.html file I'll generate a bold template, and then I'll simply say chapter 6. Now after we've done that, now we're going to go ahead and add a script tag over here inside of our index.html, because I don't want to go ahead and create index.js again and again. So it'll be good for us that if we keep script inside of our body while manipulating DOM. So the first thing that I'm going to do is in the button over here. Okay, so we're going to go inside of the button, right? So in the button, what are we going to do? The first thing that we're going to do in the button is, maybe let's say that I'll go ahead and give it a name of click me, and then it says click me, then I'll go ahead and give it an ID of button here. So now let me go ahead and turn on our live server. Okay, I don't want this, I want Firefox to open. Okay, so I'll go for, we can go for localhost or 5000 in this. So it says click me right over here. Now whenever, okay, let me go ahead and explain you about events. So the first thing that we're going to learn is about events, right? So let me give you a brief example about over here. Now let's take an example that you go ahead and hover over this stuff you see. So whenever you're hovering, the style of this has been changed. So if I go into this and if I hover, now in this button this has some kinds of styling done. So this styling is not done by us, the styling has been done by the browser itself. Or it's not done by the browser, it's been done by this HTML element itself. So whenever I'm hovering, it's going and targeting a event. It's going to go ahead and trigger a event. So whatever the stuff you do in JavaScript right over here, even if you go ahead and refresh the web page, that is also an event in JavaScript. If you right click, if you click, and even if we move our cursor, that is a event in JavaScript. And those events that are going to go ahead and convert, they are going to go ahead and convert this events into an object. So what are the event you do? Even if I go ahead and click, now this click event is going to go and convert, it's going to be converted into a object. So what am I talking about? Let me go ahead and explain you that. So let's go for a event listener of click in the click me button. So I'll go ahead and grab the button real quick. So I'll say const button is equals to document.getElementById. Okay, you can say GEBI, it's a short form for getElementById. And then I'll go for the button over here. Now in the button, as we know that we can add a event listener, so in the button we can add a event listener by saying addEventListener, and I want to listen to the event of click. So whenever that is click, I want to run a function. Now this function takes in a parameter, so this E is also known as event. I'll write event here so that it will be more clear for you. And then now it's going to go ahead and accept an event. So if I console.log the event right over here, you'll understand what I'm exactly talking about. So in the console, and if I click this, you can see that this is a click event. You see, now this click event, I've clicked it over here. Now this click event that I've done, the click I've done, that is converting into a that is going to be converted into a object. You see right over here it says client X 28, client 50, client X 50, client Y 28, and all of that stuff. So these are all the properties of this click event. So the click event has a target here. This target has different kind of properties as well, so we can actually access that, and it seems really cool to work with JavaScript while we're actually converting everything into object, and then it will be more easy for us to manipulate the document by getting the object. Okay, so that is what event actually does. Okay, so event has a lot of properties. As I told you, this target has the first child, and it has the inner HTML, inner text, and so on. So now let me go ahead and give you a example here. So okay, now I'll give you an example. So I want to create a functionality. Okay, I want to create a functionality where I click this button, and then if I had clicked this button, I want to go ahead and say that you clicked dash times. So you clicked the number of times I've clicked and times. I just want to go ahead and show that in the button over here. So how do I do that? So to do that, we're going to go ahead and create a state over here. Now this state is going to be our default state, so I'll say count over here, and I'll set it to 0 by default. So by default nobody has been clicking on the button, but if the button has been clicked, I'm going to go for event dot target dot inner text is equals to, and we're going to go ahead and say we're going to go ahead and use a backtick over here. We know what backticks are for, right? If you don't know what backticks are, maybe you've forgotten that. Backticks are basically those kinds of characters that we use in order to initialize JavaScript inside of our strings. Now, okay, that is a little definition I've given about you. I'll say you clicked, and then the times that the person has clicked. So the times that the person has clicked, it's not going to be constant, it's going to be changed. So I'll say let count is equals to 0, and then I'll increment the count by count plus plus, or maybe going by another stuff. We can go for count plus is equals to 1, or it's good to go with this operator. Okay, now you click dash and then time and then s. Okay, now after we've done that, now if I go ahead and click, it says you clicked 1 time, and then you click 2 times, and 3, 4, 5, and so on. It's going to go ahead and go up to infinity, whatever the stuff you want. Okay, so that is how we could add event listener to a button and then increment the value of this count by 1. So that is how cool it is. Okay, now we have more event listeners. Not only click, we have more events. So this click was just an example, so I'll remove this, I'll comment this out over here, and I'll give you another example. So let's go ahead and create a paragraph. Okay, so I'll go for creating a paragraph over here, and this paragraph is going to contain nothing. So I'll say ID, and it's going to be random numbers. I want to insert random numbers inside of this paragraph. So how do I do that? So to insert random numbers inside of the paragraph, what are we going to do? We are simply going to go and just start appending, right? So yep, we are going to do that, start appending all the stuff. So how do we append all the stuff inside of this P? So to do that, we can go const numbers is equals to, then we can go for document dot getElementById, and then numbers. Now I've done that. Now I want to click this whenever I'm hovering this button. You see right over here, whenever we are hovering, we're triggering a event over here. So if this event has been triggered, what I want to do is I want to simply generate random numbers. To generate random numbers, what we are going to do is we can simply say button dot add event listener. We're adding a event listener to this button, and we're going to say mouse over. So mouse over is basically the hover that we see right over here. This is the event. This is the event mouse over. So when the mouse is over this button, you just trigger this event. So I'll say this, and we don't want to go for the event right now because we are going to manipulate this number over here. So now we need to generate random number. So we can say const random is equals to, we can go for map dot math.random. So you don't need to worry about what's math. Math is a basic stuff that JavaScript gives. Okay, the JavaScript has this object right over here. This provides us with different kind of functions. So let me go ahead and console log math over here so that it will be clear for you. Console. Okay, never mind. Console.log, and then I'll go for the math object right over here. Now if I hover, you can see that math is a object, and this object has a lot of functions. So the function that we're looking for is the random function. So the random function, what it does, it basically generates random numbers. So we can say it generates random number from 0 to 1. So I'll say math.random, and then I'll go ahead and console. Okay, never mind. Console.log, and I'll go for rand number. Then if I go ahead and hover, it's going to go ahead and generate random number from 0 to 1, right? So after it has done that, what we need to do is, I don't want to go ahead and generate random numbers from 0 to 1. I want to go ahead and generate random numbers from 0 to 100. So I'll say simply multiplied by 100, and then when I hover, it says 36, well, whatever this stuff. So what is this problem? It says it's in decimal, so I don't want that in decimal. What do? I need to wrap this with math.floor. Now this math.floor is basically going to round up the numbers to the nearest 10th value. So we can say math. So in the mathematics, whatever calculation you do, you round up the numbers that are in the decimal to the nearest 10th. So that is what we're doing over here. Instead of going for math.floor, we can go for math.round as well. Let's go for math.round, and even if you do that, that's the same stuff we get. It says 14, 100, 50, and all that stuff. So instead of using round, I would recommend you use floor. Okay, now we have the random number over here. So after having the random numbers, we are going to go ahead and change this number. So to change the number, we want numbers dot inner instead of inner HTML, we can go inner text. Text is equals to the random number. Now if I hover, you can see that 28, and then again it says 90 and all those stuff right over here. Okay, so that is how cool it is. But there's another function as well. So the another function, what it does, it basically, there's another event, sorry, I mean to say an event. So there's another event called mouse out. So when we hover over this, it's triggering an event, right? It's triggering an event. But whenever I remove, it also is triggering a event. Now what is this event? That event is also known as mouse out. So that event is known as mouse out, and whenever that event is being listened, I want to generate random numbers. So even if I go ahead, if I go out, wait, okay, it's not mouse over, it's going to be mouse out. And then if I go ahead and take my mouse out, even if I take my mouse out, see, this is being changed. So instead of going and adding random numbers over here, what we can do is we can go ahead and let's create another paragraph, and it's going to go for a ID of result, and then I'll go for const result is equals to document.getElementById, and then I'll go for result. Now I have grabbed the result over here. Now what am I going to do is every time whenever mouse is being hovered, I'm going to go ahead and add that mouse has been hovered and etc. Okay, the button has been hovered, and I can say you backed off, or either I could say you're hovering, or either I could say you've clicked. So to do that, basically we're going to go for button dot onclick. Okay, there's another function as well that is also onclick over here. Instead of using that, we could use addEventListener, which is really good thing to do in JavaScript. Okay, no, this is not going to take any kind of event over here. We're just simply going to go and say numbers, and I'll go for numbers dot inner text. And then what do I want? I want to add something, so I want to add a HTML here. And instead of adding a HTML, we can add something else. We can go for you clicked and then a \n so that it denotes a line break. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go for the same stuff over here. Oh, it's not numbers. It's result, and then I'll go for result.inner text. You're hovering, and I'll copy this as well, and then I'll paste that over here. Instead of hovering, I'll say you backed off. So if I do that, it's going to say you're hovering, you backed off, you clicked, you backed off, you're hovering, you backed off, you're hovering, you clicked. So that is how these stuff work, okay? That is how mouse out, mouse over, and click events work. So there are a lot of events. So I'm going to be teaching you the last event for today's video, and in the next video we are also going to learn about form, and then we are going to learn about DOM manipulation by form, and then we're just learning how to control the form inputs. So that is how cool it is. JavaScript is basically fun if you try to understand and clear the concept that you have. JavaScript is the most interesting thing you'll ever find. But okay, I might be kidding. So the first thing that we're going to go is we're going to learn about the resize as well. So as we know that window is an object. Now even if the window is an object, the window actually has event listener. It also listens to the events. So what type of events does it listen to? It listens to a event called resize. So we're going to learn about that, okay? So we're going to say window is a global object, so I can just simply call, and I'll say window.addEventListener, and then I'll go for resize. Whenever the window has been resized, I'm simply going to go console.log, and then I'll say the window has been resized. So if I do that, and if I go on, and then if I resize the window, it's going to say the window has been resized. And yep, it's going to go ahead and say that every time I resize the window, by any kind of pixel, then it's simply going to go ahead and print that your window has been resized by this pixel and all those stuff. So we've learned about window add event listener. Window is also a global object, so we can add a event listener to it. So that is how cool it is, guys. So let's take an example that I really want to go ahead and remove all those stuff whenever I want to. So we're going to go ahead and add a button over here, and then I should go ahead and add a ID over here, and it's going to go remove button, and then it's going to say remove. So I want to remove all of the event listeners, okay? I want to remove every event listener that is happening on this stuff, okay? Every event listener that is happening on the button. So what are the events happening in the button? So we're going to go ahead and remove that. So how do we remove that? To remove that, we are going to go for a thing called remove event listener. So we can go for const remove button is equals to document, and then I'll go for getElementById, and then remove button. I've grabbed that remove button, and whenever this button is clicked, okay, we can go and say remove button dot add event listener, and whenever this is clicked, and then we can go for a function. Now this is going to go for button dot remove event listener, and it's taking 2 parameters. So it's taking 2 parameters. The first thing that is going to go is going to say mouse over, and then I'll go for and copy all of that. There are 3 event listener. It's going to be mouse out. It's going to be the click as well. Okay, so now whatever the functionalities that we have over here, so I'll go ahead and copy this. I'll copy this and I'll say click is equals to, it's going to be a function. Now this function is just simply this, and I'll go ahead and add this function over here. So we can do that, okay? We can create another function and then add those stuff over here. So I'll go for another for a mouse over. So I'll go say const mouse over is equals to a function, and we'll add a mouse over function. Mouse over, and then here we see right over here, we can take this and we can go ahead and say const mouse out. Mouse, so going for mouse out, we can go for camel case, and then yep, the stuff right over here. Now mouse out. Now to remove that, what are we going to do? It's taking 2 parameters, okay? It's taking 2 parameters and what the function that I want to remove. So the callback function that I want to remove is simply mouse over, and then we can go for mouse out, and we can go for the click. Now and then at the end I'm going to say result dot inner text is equals to saying events removed. So if I go and just check our web page, and if I do that, it's starting, but if I click on remove, it says events are removed, and whatever the stuff I do, click, hover, it's not going to go ahead and simply trigger the events. The events has been removed. So that is how cool it is working with JavaScript and event listeners. So this is it for today, and I'll see you in the next video. And in the next video, I'm going to be bringing you form manipulation, form DOM manipulation, and all those stuff related to form. So I hope you'll tune in to this series. The series is about to end, and after the series has been ended, I'm going to go ahead and bring another series called React for Intermediates. So that is going to contain a lot of intermediate stuff that you need to learn about JavaScript, and then I'll bring an advanced course on JavaScript where you'll learn everything that is advanced. Okay, so for this I'll just simply go ahead and end the video for today. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care everyone, and goodbye.